YouTube channel Nos Confunden. The different worlds that the news and space agencies often tell us about. Those distant spheres compared to what we know as our home, Earth. Could they perhaps be accessed through passages across the oceans? I understand that if this is your first time visiting the channel, it might be quite confusing. In that case, I welcome you to the theory of the 178 world domes that surround our home and host so much life that we couldn't even begin to imagine it. I also invite you to watch our other videos to better understand it. Mars is a much mentioned world, both by space agencies in their constant search for water and life in those extraterrestrial lands, and as presented in various movies, books, and all that relates to this world that seems so distant. But what if we start analyzing this distant world as lands that lie beyond the Antarctic Circle? And not only that, but it is accessible by water. And more so, humanity reached these lands long ago, and a human colony has been living there for many years. While this story might sound far-fetched, it could have a direct connection to technological advancement and the exploration by so-called space agencies. However, the reality is quite different. YouTube channel Nos Confunden. To better understand the situation of this human colony on Mars, we have to go back many years in time and study the many Antarctic expeditions carried out between the 1920s and 1950s. It is impossible then not to mention Rear Admiral Richard Byrd and his expeditions to Antarctica, as well as his direct connection with the line of absolute zero. But we will analyze this topic in another video. Now we will focus on Byrd's connection and the so-called Red Planet. The famous expedition carried out by Byrd in 1946 to Antarctica, called Operation High Jump, was conducted with more than 4,700 men, 70 ships, and 33 aircraft. It clearly ended prematurely because they were attacked, or rather tried to attack the lands called Shiki or Anakim lands, located just beyond the portal known as Morris. In these lands dwelled giants and giant humans who fled from their homeland. The empire was known as Great Tartary, and there are still remnants of this great and advanced civilization in some modern books, although these were manipulated as all their history was attempted to be erased. YouTube channel Nos Confunden. Byrd then had to return to the United States with many casualties, fewer ships, and only a few aircraft that survived against the advanced technology of the southern giants. Even carrying custodial technology, they could not stand against the giants' might and returned defeated. The custodians and Anunnaki are still hurt by this defeat and have tried to take revenge on several occasions until the opening of a new portal passage called Hyurenk. But that's a long story and we can't include it in this video. YouTube channel Nos Confunden. Mars is located beyond the second dome and the second ice walls. To surpass them, one must cross the membrane portal and travel through the great continents called Atos and Argos, then reach the Byrd Strait and cross the ice and storms that rage there. Once past the frozen part, there lies the kingdom of Mars, with an indescribable beauty that also holds the most chilling secrets of modern human history and those of other species. There, a sort of zoo of worlds exists, carried out by the Anunnaki and custodial minds. Various experiments are conducted with different colonies of species, and humans are no exception. The first humans were brought there with the promise of living in a paradise, and the mission they fulfilled was to betray their own brethren. This means that the first human generation there, as far as we know, were humans who carried out tasks against humanity itself and were rewarded with the right to travel there to experience these peculiar lands.
YouTube channel Nos Confunden.
A human can live there for many more years, different from the time that passes in our homeland. This way, many humans accepted the risk and carried out tasks imposed by the colonizing parasites to then be transferred to the human colony that still lives there. However, over time, the ancestral humans came to know the true history of the generations that dwell there, and we could confirm that the humans on Mars were used not only as experiments and for torture, but also became slaves to other races and the eternal conflicts that are waged in those latitudes. Mars, then, is a land of double-edged swords. On the one hand, the beauty of its beaches and colorful vegetation. On the other, the darkness of slavery and constant wars against the Greys of Orion and the Etamines of Draco.
YouTube channel Nos Confunden.
Humans have managed to escape on several occasions, reaching the coasts of ancestral lands and other surrounding lands, attempting to start anew, regretting the decisions of their predecessors who unknowingly condemned them to a miserable long life of extreme sacrifices and incessant conflicts. Mars has thus become the new humanity we live in today, a place that seems to seduce scientific minds again and the propaganda that comes from the news and major agencies. This really makes us question what is sought by moving humanity today, with the idea of being able to reach these lands again. Clearly, the minds of the colonizing parasites are behind it all. Are some humans being relocated to Mars again?
Confunden.
What would be today's mission against their fellow humans? Is it the reward for promoting the idea of an unquestionable universe of floating spheres? How many of the great scientific minds we know have been awarded? Or have they even truly existed? Is it the reward for discrediting other theories and forever labeling as ignorant those who even suggest another model?
YouTube channel Nos Confunden.
If so, then Mars will be repopulated by a modern human colony, and thus the envoys will once again face a hellish scenario and see with their own eyes the fire of an irreparable mistake. Mars, then, has become in recent times the new clone lands, as those lands under the Anunnaki lands are called, which served as a means of experimentation for a long time and were suddenly abandoned without knowing the real reason yet. But there remained the largest and most mysterious laboratories of all, as well as a gruesome history of the past and the use of beings by the same old parasites. We must prepare ourselves if that is the case, as we will have to surf another wave. We will see many news reports about Antarctica and various theories about ancient structures, earthquakes, and many other stories in the coming years.
YouTube channel Nos Confunden.